If you have found this video, it's because most likely you have been trying to figure out how to tap back in to your femininity. And you know, femininity has definitely been a buzzing word, especially from men. Telling women that, you know, they're not feminine and they're too masculine. And some of it is true. But today, I really want to break down what femininity really is, what it's not, and how can we really begin to tap into true femininity, which is essentially it's an energy. And see, a lot of women are disconnected from their femininity not because of the way that they're dressing or anything of that nature. It's because they're disconnected from the sense of safety within their body. And that's what we really gonna dive into today. So if you found this video, sis, it was meant to be. So stick in there with me. So first, before I really dive into this subject, I want to talk about what femininity is not. Because again, we got a lot of men that tap into this subject and they are completely confused themselves on what femininity is and what it's not. And what femininity is not is it is not being quiet and doing whatever a man tells you to do. It's not being overly submissive. It is not wearing dresses and wearing pink and doing all these bubble baths and spa days, doing all the aesthetically pleasing things. That is what it is not. That is a part of it. You know, we all like to, feel a little girly. I get it. I love my pink too. I love my flowy dresses, but it is so much more than that. And what it is also not is it's also not pretending to be soft while internally you are stressed the hell out. It is not that, ladies. What that is that's performance. And see, a lot of women are so exhausted because they're trying to look feminine. They're trying to act feminine instead of actually feeling safe enough in their body to be feminine. So now that we got that out the way with of what femininity is not, let's dive into what true femininity really is. And at the end of the day, true femininity is your energy, sis. It's your presence. It's the softness that comes from safety within your body, not force. It is your ability to slow down without guilt. It's feeling your emotions without just completely disconnecting from them. It's your ability to receive love and receive support without that resistance. How many times have someone tried to give you something and you're just like, oh, nope, I got it. I've been there. That is what we want to get more comfortable with, is receiving and not feeling guilty about it or automatically just shunning it away. Femininity is about your magnetism. It's about your creativity. It's about your intuition. It's about your boundaries. It's not about just being a yes ma'am and doing everything that somebody tells you to do. It's not about people pleasing. It's about really having boundaries. That's true self-love. Not boundaries that are unhealthy because you're hurt and they're coming from trauma. No, boundaries that are helping you stay connected to you and what makes you truly thrive. That is what true femininity is. And last but not least, femininity is your sensual connection to yourself. That is what femininity is. So really, femininity is essentially your nervous system in a regulated state, in a receptive state. It's your energy. It's all about energy. And see, the thing of it is we both carry, male and female. We carry feminine energy as well as masculine energy. And I'm not going to talk about too much masculine energy on this particular video, but I am going to dive into that one too, because we carry both energies. But feminine energy is our dominant energy. And that's what we're talking about today. And this is what I really, really want you to hear real closely in this video. You are not too masculine. And a lot of men are making women try to think oh, she just too masculine and I want a soft feminine woman. When again, they don't even really be knowing what a true feminine woman is. To them, a feminine woman is someone super submissive, soft, and do whatever it is that they say and shut up and be quiet. And that's not what we're talking about today. So I do want you to hear me clearly when I say you are not too masculine. You're just overstimulated. You've had to figure things out on your own, especially if you're a single mom. I can relate to that. You've really had to adapt to surviving. So now softness feels very unfamiliar. Now rest feels very uncomfortable and receiving just feels unsafe. So that is why it is hard for you to tap into your feminine energy, because it's impossible when your body is constantly in a state of survival mode. So now, how can we truly begin to tap back into this feminine energy that all women carry? It's not even really, to be honest, something that you have to go and get. It's something that is already inside of us. But again, whenever we've been moving on autopilot and in survival mode and doing everything and feeling like the world is just on our shoulders, it keeps us disconnected from the very energy that God gave us. So how do we tap back into it? How do we begin to embody that energy again? Let's get into it. There's two very important things that you must possess when it comes to tapping back into your feminine energy. And that is a regulated nervous system as well as releasing control. Those are the main two. And to piggybacking off of that, it's also practicing stillness, which is one of my favorite things. Sometimes, and to be honest, oftentimes, a lot of the times, when you're so used to doing everything, if you really stop and think about it, you never really give yourself time for true stillness, time to truly think. You know, the average person, the time that they spend alone the longest is when they're in the shower. That's it. And that's about 3 to 4 minutes, typically. Unless you're one of those moms where that is your piece and you take 10, 20 minutes to do it. But an average person, it's 3 to 4 minutes while they're in the shower. But when you're in the car, the first thing you do is put on the music. When you're at work, you're constantly talking to people. When you're being a mom, you're constantly thinking about what you need to do for the kids, what you need to cook, etc., etc. But we often never take the time for stillness. And that's really, really important, because without stillness, which is like one of my main things that I always make sure I get into my day every single day, is without that stillness, you can't hear God speak to you. You can't really tap into your true divine essence. You can't tap into that creativity that I mentioned earlier. You can't tap into your intuition without that true stillness. So it's very, very important. And not just stillness, but starting to receive and being comfortable with receiving. So it's a regulated nervous system. It's being comfortable with receiving. It's practicing stillness, and it's releasing control. Those are the things that you have to start learning to embody in order to really tap back into your femininity. Now, I want to pause for a moment and get real transparent with you real quick, because I know that there's a lot of women right now that are thinking to themselves, you know, sis, this sounds real good, but my life isn't soft right now. And I have real responsibilities. I got bills. I have, real life pressures. And I first want to say, I understand. And I am not trying to tell you to ignore your responsibilities, because again, I am a single mom and I know how it feels to, you're constantly worrying about how you're going to pay the rent next month. You're constantly, worried about what to cook every single day. Can you afford groceries? I mean, your mind is just always going and you feel like you are responsible for doing everything. So what I'm not saying is for you just to forget about your responsibilities. But what I am telling you is that survival mode isn't just about your circumstances, sis. It's about your relationship with trust. At some point in your life, you have to really decide, do I believe that I have to carry everything on my own? Or Do I believe that God will meet and provide for me exactly where I'm at? And I know that that may sound cliche, to just trust God. But when I tell you, I have witnessed in my own life, and I still witness in my own life every single day, how he will show up for you. And when I say God, I don't mean the religious version of God. I mean the divine. I mean the creator of all things. When you truly surrender and trust that he will provide, he will do it. And I think that that is the biggest thing. If you don't get nothing else from this video, I need you to hear that you have to surrender. That is part of safety, is knowing that no one is in control of your life but God. Not your boss at your job that you're depending on that paycheck for, not your baby daddy, not whoever it is that you may be depending on, that in thinking that they have your life in their hands. It's not true. And I know that the world that we live in, we get so stuck in the reality of, again, the day-to-day responsibilities that we have to do, and we forget who is in control of it all. And that is what changed my life tremendously. I remember times to where I didn't even know how I was going to pay the rent the next month, and the rent would be due in a week. And I would be with friends, and I'll never forget one of my girlfriends said, because I shared it with her. And I normally, I don't share my personal struggles like that, with my friends and things like that, depending on what it is. And I was so calm because, again, I had already surrendered, and I had seen God show up for me over and over and over again when I gave it to him. So I finally reached a point where my body softened. And I no longer worried anymore. I'm like, God got it. He'll figure it out. That's not for me to worry about. That's for him to worry about it. My only job is to do what I can do. And this is what I mean when I say do what you can do, because I don't want to be the cliche person that says just believe God and you just sit there and don't do anything. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is I truly believe that you got to meet God halfway. And I've always understood that. So I've always given God an avenue to give me money. Whether I remember, there was a time where I had my own credit repair business. So that was an avenue. I host retreats. That's an avenue. I have products that I sell. That's an avenue. So you have to do your part and meet God halfway so he can actually show up within an avenue. If you don't do anything and you don't even fill out that application, or you don't send that email, and you don't do anything to just give him an avenue to show up for you, then it's going to be a lot harder for him to show up for you. So what I'm saying is make sure you're doing your part. But to go back to the story, I just had to put that out there. To go back to the story, I remember sitting with my girlfriend and we were having lunch, and, I just casually just said, yeah, girl, I don't even know how I'm gonna pay my rent next month. And she almost spit her food out, and she paused, and she was just like, D, like, how are you even sitting here so calm right now? Like, I would be losing my mind. Like, why are you here with me at lunch? Like, she started panicking. And I told her, I said, girl, because I know God got it. God will figure it out. And what happened? Maybe about 3 days later, I got 2 credit clients, and that was just enough to pay my rent. So you see, if you just give it to God, he will figure it out. But a lot of times we forget, again, who really controls our life. And that's him. That's the divine. That's the creator. So you have to release control in order to truly tap into that divine feminine essence and tap back into your softness. That's a big part of it. It's your energy. That panicky energy, it does nothing but propel the very thing that we're asking for away. Because you know what it says? It says you don't trust God. And that is one of the biggest contradictions that I feel like even religious people hold, especially Christians, is they'll say, oh, I trust him. But then you're still worrying and worrying. Those two don't mix. But the moment that you say, God, I trust you, I don't have to force everything, and I don't have to control everything, that's when everything in your life will start to change. I promise you. So I said all that to say, if you're a single mom, if you're building something, if you're figuring life out, this doesn't mean that you stop showing up, sis. It just means that you stop carrying it like it's all on you. You can take action and still be moving in faith. You can handle your responsibilities and still be in softness. See, survival says I have to make everything happen. But faith says I will do my part and trust that God will do the rest. And that's where true femininity lies. So I hope that ministered to you. If you can relate and if you felt this video, make sure you leave some comments. And before I go, I am hosting a Divine Feminine Reset Retreat in Puerto Rico that I'm super excited about coming up in June 4th through 8th. And if you want to truly embody your divine feminine essence in person, you gotta be there. We'll be doing womb healing, nervous system resets. We'll be doing yoga sessions, sound healing. And of course, we'll be having a lot of fun with excursions and, bomba dance classes and all type of things. And this is only for a select few women, but I do still have a few more spots. So if you're really feeling called to embody this information in person and really tap into your true divine essence, you gotta be there. So I'm gonna leave all of the details in the description. And as always, I love you so, so much. And thank you for choosing yourself. I'll see you on the next video.